I mean, the only grace we extend in this country, like as far as this is concerned, is Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And let me tell you, it's not a very graceful process. You're done for 7 years. So I mean, I don't know. Yes, like, damn it. All right, we're at Marx. We're gonna do it.
I did not prompt it. You just went there, bro.
The bourgeois needs the proletariat.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But the bourgeois has to keep the proletariat only happy or sustained enough so that they don't uprise. Like, you just have to keep them placated enough.
Okay.
Of course, Marx says you do that by allowing them to eat the crumbs that fall from your table. Is that generosity? Is that grace? You're a smarter man than I. You can answer that. Didn't feel like it to me, but that's how those things are reconciled. I would say, like, yes, you need the proletariat, but you just need them alive. You don't need them doing well or healthy. Economically alive.
So, born free, but everywhere in chains. It sounds like a picture painted of some kind of economic chaining, a shackling. But I would wonder if you have a system, an entire system, dedicated to this economic philosophy or approach or strategy, then being born into it would mean that you're almost destined to be...
You're not born free. Right? In fact, far be it from me to speak for Rousseau. But
you're going to try.
But I think Rousseau would almost push back on the premise there, and I think he would say, like, I wasn't making an economic argument. You are born into economic chains, effectively. Like, you are effectively born into economic chains. Politically, you are born free. And yet you wind up in political chains. But on the economic front, since we've been talking about that, for the most part, and you know what? Let's be very fair about this. You were actually not. Most people are not born into economic chains, but for most people, the chains are just so hard to avoid. And I think you sort of spoke right to the heart of it when you start talking about the reliance on, like, a credit-based system.
Sure.
Which in this country, in the U.S. economy, it is extremely difficult to get by without credit. And in fact, if you try to, you are punished severely for not having a credit score.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could try to live your life with no credit. Good luck buying a house.
Right.
Good luck renting something. Good luck getting
Straight
a car.
cash in the barrel.
Yeah, like, I mean, so... Yeah, I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
I'm sorry because there is something that feels unfair about that, and I guess it feels unfair because it feels like an unavoidable restriction on liberty, which I will allow, the blue-blooded American in me to speak now. If there's anything interesting or special about what we've built here in the U.S., it is this, like, I mean, almost psychotic pursuit of liberty. And I think that's awesome.
Psychotic pursuit of liberty. Can you say more about that?
Give me liberty or give me death. That is a crazy-ass thing to say. But
it's extreme.
But we love it, right? It's like, as an American, you're like, yeah, I kind of like that, actually. Like, you're going to have to kill me then. Right? And so it's sort of like in the fabric of it. And I don't know if the listeners are supposed to know this or not, but I am a black American. And so taking nothing away from the passion that burned in our founding fathers for liberty, that same passion burned even hotter in my enslaved ancestors, who, even in their darkest moments, and for no good reason, by the way, they had no good reason to believe that liberty was on the way for them. In the late 1700s, you have no business as an enslaved person believing that, like, liberty is around the corner for you.
In a lot of the world, there was not a lot of rhetoric around liberty from whatever system at that time.
Right.
Especially not for slaves.
And yet, at every turn, we can find during the entire awful experience of the American enslavement, all we see is just examples of, like, resistance and this, like, belief that tomorrow will somehow be better, and if it's not better for me, then I'll die trying to make it better for those who come after me. Like, that is a psychotic pursuit of liberty.
Rousseau, he said that he said a couple things. One was that stands out is slaves, since you brought up slavery, slaves in their bondage lose everything, even when they desire to be free. By force made the first slaves, and their cowardice perpetuates their slavery. So when you talk about the psychotic aspect of that, what do you think about what Rousseau is saying there?
I recall this. I recall this action. I recall being very angry the first time that I wrote it. Excuse me. I'm Rousseau, by the way. I recall being very angry the first time that I read it, because I don't think that is fair to the American the experience of enslaved African Americans. Unfortunately, I think we would be sort of rewriting history if we did not acknowledge that there were certainly many enslaved people who did succumb to their situation, and I think this is the insulting part, find ways to benefit themselves at the abandonment of their pursuit of liberty and to the detriment of their fellow enslaved people. I don't like playing into, like, stereotypes or particularly ugly ones, but this is where the, like, Uncle Tom idea comes from.
Okay.
So
those who were in the house.
Yeah, right. And so in that regard, yes, that this quote would apply to those folks. But again, I stand by what I said earlier. We can go through any moment in the experience of the American slave trade, and there is always, like, a significant, by the way, group of, like, resistance, or if not, like, outright resistance, and by that I mean, like, Nat Turner style, like, blah, I'm just gonna kill everybody then.
Yeah.
Or even if it's more quiet, and obviously Harriet Tubman is kind of the most famous example of that, right?
Yeah.
So in their cowardice, they remain slaves. I hate that I can't remember it, but there was a quote in college that I came across that I really liked, and it's a little esoteric, so I'll need like 30 seconds here. But the quote is, this is talking about Black Americans. We have forgiven ourselves for being beaten by slave master, but we have not yet forgiven ourselves for being captured. And in context, the idea that's supposed to be kind of coming across there is, you know, we as, like, Black Americans, like, post-slavery, we understand that the conditions and frankly the like torturous treatment of our ancestors was wrong.
Yeah.
And we acknowledge that, and of course
a population of the world acknowledges that that's wrong.
yes,
But slavery exists today.
it does.
So it can't be everyone.
It's not everyone. We as Black Americans, ought to acknowledge that was wrong. And of course, the idea of forgiving ourselves, that's like the last step of forgiveness according to biblical principles. So we have forgiven ourselves for what happened,
Yeah.
but we have not yet forgiven ourselves for being captured. We have not yet wrestled with the fact that we shouldn't be here in the first place, right? Like we have not yet wrestled with the fact that, if I wanted to be provocative about this, I would say all of us today, all Black Americans today, like we are demonstrating the very cowardice that Rousseau mentions here, that we have acquiesced to our situation.
So Kanye was right.
Well,
Is that what you just said?
well-
You said that Kanye, Ye, is right.
I prefer to not be canceled, so I'm not going to amen that.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea being in
He
its
didn't
most...
make this comment, though.
Well, and he's not the only one. There are more reasonable minds who have suggested, like, hey, yo, what if we just, like, left? Right? Obviously, massive sort of practicality issues there. But perhaps the fact that is not even really much of a debate, like that's not even really in the public discourse.
What is not a debate?
That we don't belong here. That this is not ours and it will never be ours. Perhaps the fact that that's not even part of the debate reflects our cowardice. Now, if I may, I'll push back on something that I just presented to you. And I will say that I actually reject that. And I reject it because as I acknowledge that this is not ours in the sense that it was sort of founded by people who were not like us and meant us ill, I think I would submit to you that, like, we made it ours and that we have just as much of a claim to it as anyone. Because in a very literal sense, my ancestors built this country. Peachtree Road in Atlanta, Georgia, one of the most famous roads. Those are my ancestors who built that. Like, quite literally, we built it. And metaphorically, again, I talked about the passion that burned in our founding fathers. It's the same passion that burned in my ancestors and continues to burn in Black Americans today. I believe we have just as much a claim to this place as anyone. And so I personally don't think it reflects cowardice that we have sort of acquiesced, that we have not yet forgiven ourselves for being captured. No, I think it reflects the idea that, like, yeah, I mean, we didn't necessarily want to be here, but now that we're here, we're just going to take it over.
Interesting. And so then take this back to the psychotic aspect, right? So you've got the cowardice and you've got the psychotic. They seem to be on different ends of the spectrum, because in order to be psychotic, it means that it seems like from your logic, you've overcome the cowardice, right? So we know what psychotic looks like, and it sounds like we know what cowardice looks like. If we don't, then please correct me at any point. I have a question, and the question points to what does this look like going back? I want to always take it back to the original aspect of the quote from Rousseau in terms of being in chains and the happy illusion. Okay, so we're in this, you liken this, and if you want to abandon this likening, then that's fine too, but right now it's what you offered, so I want to stick to it and honor that. You likened this everywhere, or we're born free, but everywhere man is in chains. to childhood in playing video games and the ability to do that, and then also while also under this happy illusion. I have asked questions pointing to social structure and society, corporations and things like that, but then also just governance and what that looks like, and asking about, well, is there a happy illusion here? The answer that I've kind of gotten, and forgive me if I didn't hear the direct answer, but I have heard several positions from you on this, is that there is no happy illusion. And I'm trying to figure out then, well, how does that tie back to you likening we're born free, everywhere man is in chains, to a happy illusion? But then when we talk about our society, we're not in a happy illusion, or are we? Or so I'm trying to connect both of those things to see where they line up, if they line up.
Yeah, I think you're right to point out some tension there, and I think I'd double down actually on sort of childhood analogy, because all of the sort of social ills that we've been discussing, didn't think about one of them while I was playing Call of Duty. Didn't think about one of them. So at a very micro level, the sort of happy illusion that I was enjoying, it was strong enough to shield me not only from, not having to get a job, not having to have real responsibilities, it also shielded me from these sort of kind of big, like, structural social challenges.